Hi everyone, I'm Kate. Welcome back to my channel, Find Your Treasures. I'm really happy that you're here. Today I have a beautiful channeled poem to read to you, a channel message. It's called There's a Reason. I channeled it this morning on our tree banjo in our backyard, and it's really gorgeous. And I think it's that really important reminder that we all need, that while our children are navigating challenges at school especially, there's a reason they chose us to be their parents to help them navigate that. And that's something we can kind of forget sometimes just in everyday life, but they chose us for a reason. So let's dive into the channeled poem. It's called There's a Reason. There's a reason they chose you long before their birth. There's a reason they chose you before they came to Earth. Across the stars they travelled, from galaxies far away. There's a reason they came to be born here, to help Earth and humanity today. Today they walk as children, to all else they seem ordinary. But to you, you see the light in their eyes. To you, they are extraordinary. And regardless of what their teachers say, how they don't fit into the mould, there's a reason they chose to be different, to stand apart, to be brave, to be bold. There's a reason they seem different. The light you see in their eyes, they have come from very far away. Beyond Venus, beyond Saturn, beyond Mars. They walk today as any child does. They laugh, they play, they learn, but they don't fit into the box that the system dictates. They're different. They're breaking the mould. They didn't come here to comply, to sit, to listen, to do. They came here to be trailblazers in everything they say and do. There's a reason you see it in their eyes, their wisdom beyond their years. They haven't come to be an ordinary kid. Far from it. They've come here to exceed. Exceed what society dictates from children, to be compliant, to replicate, to repeat. Far from it. They've come here to change how we live, how we govern, how we care, what we eat. They have come to herald great change on earth. You see it in their eyes. You sense, you know they're different in some way, like they've travelled from beyond the stars. And there's a reason they chose you to be the one who guides their way, who helps them on their path in life, who helps them shine and glow. Because you see it in their eyes, that glow when their soul shines bright, and that's the clue to help them succeed in life, to discover what makes them shine. For there's a reason they came here and chose you to be their mum, their grandparent, or dad. And there are hundreds of reasons they made this choice. For each of them, they are glad that it's you who was the one to help them, the one to light their way, to guide them and protect them as all the systems fail. Fail to care for them in the way they should. Fail to help them discover who they truly are. Fail to see that each and every child is unique, that every child matters and deserves to be treated with care. The systems that label, that dictate who fits in and who is out, the systems that define how a child should be, how they should learn and move about. These systems are breaking, they're crumbling now, and soon they will melt away. And in their place, new ways of educating will arise, will replace them in a joyful way. For there's a reason your child arrived at this time as a great rebirth begins. For the time has come for the old ways to end and for joy and freedom to begin. I think that's a beautiful poem, and it's so meaningful to me on so many levels. I feel like I have many conversations with parents at my workshops, with friends, when I do my markets, and it often involves many stories of children who, when the parents see how amazing, incredible that they are, but then at school, they're told that they don't fit in, that they are falling behind, that they're failing subjects. And I feel like it's so important for every parent to recognise that it's not their child who is failing, it's the system that is failing. It's not your beautiful child. And too often I feel that we don't feel that we have the ability to make a difference because the system seems so great. And especially if we think of the education system, for example, it's a huge, big working machine. And the curriculum is designed so far from the top and has trickled down that our beautiful teachers in the classroom often just, doing the best they can to try and fit everything into the week that the children have to learn. That they're not in the place, they're at the coalface basically of the situation, like in a mindset. So, but I feel like as parents, it's our job to help our children remember that it's the system that is wrong. And I just take, for example, if you look at some of the maths homework that's sent home with our children from school, I am bewildered sometimes. I've done a science degree, I've done a law degree. I know that I'm not the best at maths, but I find the maths questions in a lot of the homework, it's like it's even designed to trip the kids up. It's so just, put in such a confusing way that it's no wonder, if it's making a 40-something-year-old scratch your head trying to figure it out, how is an 8 or 9-year-old trying to figure this out? So, and I've had this conversation, my husband uses maths every day in his work and he feels the same way. Other friends, husbands who are draftees who are using maths every day, look at their children's maths homework, for example, and say it's like they're designed to confuse the kids. So I feel like as we're navigating, life as parents, we're trying to guide our children. When we are faced with those times where the school is saying to us, they're not fitting in or they're failing and that you need to go and do something about that. Our job as parents is to navigate those situations in a way where we are ensuring our child feels confident, feels nurtured, that their self-worth is nurtured. Because when you're being told that you're failing behind in a subject where it's designed in such a confusing way that it seems illogical to design it in that way, often what will happen is a child's confidence and self-worth will go down a bit. And so what can we do as parents and help our children in those situations? Because I guess we can't really go in and change the curriculum in the classrooms. But we can definitely ask questions to the teachers of why things are written the way they are. I've definitely done that as a mum, where I found my daughter's homework, they had included things that hadn't even been taught yet. And the answer that I got from the teacher, very lovely teacher, but the answer was that they're just seeing how they're going to see how the children go before they teach this topic, which to me is bewildering, because if you're, say, 7 or 8, and you're being given homework for a subject or for a type of, question that you haven't even learnt yet, that is only going to make you feel frustrated, overwhelmed, all of the things that we see in children sometimes. And it's fair enough. And I think that our job as parents is to actually ask those questions back. It's not placing pressure on the teachers, but it's actually, using our voice to ask, like, what is this? How is this being taught in the classroom? Or why is this being included in the homework? And most importantly, when we think about nurturing our children's self-worth while they're going through these challenges, say for at school for different subjects, whether that's English or whether that's maths, what we can do to help balance that situation is find out what our children really love. And there's a clue that was in the poem that I really loved, which said, because you see it in their eyes, that glow when their soul shines bright. And that's the clue to help them succeed in life, to discover what makes them shine. So one of the best ways we can help them to nurture their self-worth while they're going through challenges in other subject areas is to really think about, well, what makes them shine, and encourage them to do more of that. So we can balance that out. And I know that might be for some kids, if they love soccer, if they love, playing sport, well, then go into that and, encourage them in that direction. I know for my children, if they're having a day where they come home from school and they're feeling like it's all a bit, say, pointless or hard what they're learning, then I let them cook, because it's like a beautiful way for them to be creative. It instills them a lot of self-confidence, because they're reading the recipes themselves, they're making cookies or cakes themselves, and it helps them sort of fill up with a big sense of self-empowerment, which is really what I think we can do. And we can also let our children understand that the education system right now is not perfect. It's far from it. So if they're going through challenges, we can remind them that it's changing, and that it's not their fault, and they're not failing. They're incredible, and they're amazing. and then discover what do they love and help nurture them in that area. Because when they spend time doing what they love, whether that's dancing or cooking or playing sport or horse riding or gardening or painting, whatever it is, it helps to instill in them a big sense of self-worth, and happiness and joy, which kind of helps to balance out the times, the struggles that they're going through at school, when they're in an environment which is changing, and it's changing rapidly. And we're all excited to see what will happen when the education system is either replaced with a new way of education. I loved how in the poem it referred to it being one full of freedom and joy. And I think that will be amazing to see. But in the meantime, our job as parents is to really help nurture our children's self-worth while they're navigating this old archaic system. And I also loved in the poem how it was talking about they didn't come to fit into this box. And we see that a lot in schools, especially, in the last few years, where there seems to be a mold, a box. And if you don't fit in, you're either left behind or you are sent off to, get specialist appointments. And there's this box that a normal child, an ordinary child is meant to fit into. And what I'd love to know is who defined that concept of what a child should be to fit in a box. And I feel like many children are coming at the moment to show us that mold, that box needs to be broken. And they're not fitting into that mold and box. And that's how they're showing us that the system needs to change. So they're really, I feel that they're really brave to be here at this time. And it's also beautiful in that poem, the emphasis on why they chose you, and they chose you to be their parent to guide them through this. So we can kind of remember that. It's like almost nurturing, like a co-worker who's at a workplace where they're just not happy or they just don't like what they're doing. We're sympathetic to them. They still are going each day. In the same way our children are still going to school, they're facing this, but we can always kind of, remind them at home that they're doing a wonderful job, and really just help them shine their light in their way by creating those opportunities together for them to, follow what lights them up and what makes them shine. So thank you for listening to my poem. I hope you really loved it, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that it helps in some way. And always remember, you can reach out, drop a question in the comments. But I'm here to help you sort of navigate this time with our kids in the era that we're in, where we're watching great changes take place. And our job as parents is really to kind of nurture and guide our children, because they really are going to make great, amazing changes and differences to the world, which is going to be incredible. And I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye.